Angelica is a niche YouTube content creator. Her first known video was uploaded in 2016, and since then, she has become a staple in the surrealist comedy ASMR genre. She is broadly known for her ASMR videos, her most notable video being 1300s AD ASMR, None Takes Care of You in Bed, You Have the Plague, which, prior to being deleted, had over 5 million views. Angelica's content ranged from simple librarian roleplays to more obscure genres like camera lens licking and Edgar Allan Poe grave decorating ASMRs. But what set Angelica apart in the broader ASMR community was her witty social commentary embedded in each of her seemingly nonsensical videos. Rather than just elaborate skits meant for mindless entertainment, Angelica garnered a large following of liberal Gen Zers and millennials that align with her in-character rants about everything ranging from religion to politics. In addition to her main channel, @Angelica's Grass, Angelica has a few other known channels, including @Angelica's Labyrinth 1099 and Prosperina 7555. The former is home to Angelica's comparably less popular video essays and speculative content. Angelica is also an author under her pen name Angelica Labyrinth. In 2020, she published her first novel entitled The Light is Good, which is still available on Amazon.com. This novel follows 19-year-old Jane, a writer who recounts her time spent as a member of a cult. In it, we get descriptions of the rituals and beliefs held by the organization, which draws inspiration from the 3 Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The main masculine omnipresent force was that of the Antiphasi, the fictional cult god characterized in the story to whom his followers devoted their lives to. Drawing inspiration from the infamous creation story of Adam and Eve, the lore of the Antiphasi starts with this. Legend says the original impurity occurred at the dawn of mankind Earth, in the universe centuries ago, all of which was made in a matter of hours. It was when the first man found the first woman's form so beautiful, he gave into his sensations and fornicated with her. It was consensual, nothing malicious happened, but their act wasn't what the Antiphasi had in mind for humanity. They were created and immortal, so reproduction was unnecessary, and the two were threatening to spoil his plans. He wanted to clone them and populate the world with similar looking, like-minded, obedient creatures to his liking. So the Antiphasi threatened to make man and woman suffer if they fornicated again. But his plan had already been foiled. The woman's belly began growing months after the impurity. Out of loving wrath, he took away their privilege to sunlight, made humanity believe in the evil of pleasure as retribution, ripped away their immortality, and warned them that the day they stepped into the light of the sun, it will be their last day as human. Despite both being guilty of committing the original impurity, the people in the underground came to blame all women and only women for it. There were several reasons why they blamed solely the woman, but only one seemed the most comprehensive, or rather cohesive, for our society. If the woman had been so beautiful, the man would have never fornicated with her. It was because of this conclusion that every girl and woman had to shave their heads, ashen their faces with charcoal, and wear formless potato sack dresses, covering their shoulders down to their ankles. It was our way of hiding our temptations from the men. The ideologies presented by the cult of Antiphasi are very similar to those posited by the aforementioned Abrahamic religions. This falls in line with the religious critiques of patriarchy that Angelica's viewers have come to associate with her online presence. Some other basic information about Angelica includes that she is a straight, cisgendered woman. According to a few online sources, she was born January 1st, 1999, making her 24 years of age as of the release of this video. This and any other information about Angelica, however, is unverified and/or unknown. It is hard to pinpoint much personal information regarding her, as much of it has been deleted and thus subsequently erased from the internet. The start of controversy. Angelica is no stranger to controversy. Over the course of her career, she's been very vocal about her personal beliefs and opinions, whether that be as a formal video essay or embedded into her ASMR content. She at one point was an OnlyFans creator, focusing on a variety of content including sensual dance videos and not safe for work artistic portraits. She has clarified that she has never posted her genitalia or anything overtly sexual on the platform, although some of her formal subscribers on the platform claim otherwise. She would eventually leave this platform in May of 2023. In June 2023, Angelica uploaded a video to her rant channel entitled OnlyFans Hurt Young Girls. In this 20-minute long video, Angelica warns women under the age of 23 and people with mental illnesses to not consider going into sex work. Angelica points out that individuals joining OnlyFans under the guise of body empowerment will only be met with the demand of men to sexualize and demean themselves. Angelica's audience broadly agreed with her sentiments. To many, this was in alignment with Angelica's outspoken views on society and was an objectively sound video highlighting the dangers of online sex work. Angelica is also no stranger to mental health issues. She now claims on social media that she has never been diagnosed with any mental illness other than ADHD, a diagnosis that she does not claim as she believes it was pushed onto her as a child that did not fully understand English just yet. While she claims to have never been on any medication or formally diagnosed, Angelica has frequently mentioned throughout her career her mental health struggles, including but not limited to depression and mania. Angelica claims that her time on OnlyFans was also a time that she was knowingly manic. The uploading and positive feedback of this video sparked many more uploads on Angelica's rant channel. Many fans were not alarmed by Angelica's behavior up until her announcement that she was now Catholic rather than anarcho-communist. Suddenly, Angelica was a very different person. Still outspoken and unapologetic, Angelica now became a highly religious individual with the ideals that she once criticized. Across her TikTok and YouTube, Angelica spread quite a few problematic ideals, including but not limited to the left being in opposition to the Church of Christ, queerness being a term that should be left to child predators, and other views that are commonly seen among conservative trad wives, which can be defined as cis women who believe in traditional male and female gender roles, including that women should be mothers and homemakers. The core of former fans' issues with Angelica did not lie in her conversion to Christianity by itself. In fact, many were supportive of this embracing of her faith, but rather it was that in support of these ideals, she actively began to push agendas that actively harm marginalized and disenfranchised communities in general, and characterize their plight as symptoms of ungodliness. For example, Angelica claims that mental illness is not real and is that instead the result of, in her words, disgusting habits. She believes that, in her words on Instagram stories, "You've identified with your flawed flesh because there's nothing more to you than your own mind, and you'll never know peace no matter how safe you try to make society. Ironically, you're a danger to yourself and others. The public is just too nice to figure it out yet." This sentiment reflects a long history of associating mental illness with violence, despite the fact that, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, most people with mental health conditions are no more likely to be violent than anyone else. Only 3% to 5% of violent acts can be attributed to the individuals living with a serious mental illness. In fact, people with severe mental illnesses are over 10 times more likely to be victims of a violent crime than the general population. The denial of mental illness is also common within Abrahamic religions. They see mental illness as a disturbance of the spirits rather than the chemical imbalance that it is. They abhor mental health medication and see it as a tool for society to make individuals complacent with being anti-religion and invested in science, aka man's religion. Angelica takes this even further, claiming that therapy only made her feel worse, meaning it too must be a tool for anti-Christ conditioning. The typical Christian prescriptions for anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, schizophrenia, and any other mental health conditions is prayer, fasting, and a few scriptures. If it gets too bad, an exorcism may be in line. Amongst Angelica's claims, she has gone from being very expressive and proud of her ethnic background to claiming she is not a person of color, just an American in a now deleted TikTok.
I'm not brown, I'm American, and I'm also not oppressed, except by the world of Satan.
Angelica eventually made something similar to an apology video regarding her statements about the LGBT+ community, insisting that she did not hate those individuals, although she still will defend that those that align with specifically the queer label also support pedophiles and that queer and leftist ideologies, including a fight for LGBT+ rights, are incorrect and distract from the glory of God and the church. In response to pedophilia within the Catholic Church, however, Angelica has simply stated that she has looked past those instances and see the predators as not in alignment with the Word of God. In a nutshell, Angelica has gone from someone who represented inclusion and diversity to someone who supports the very ideals that marginalized people groups from the beginning. She's even gone as far as to remove all videos from her channel in support of the LGBT+ community and that criticize the Catholic Church. Her TikTok, on the other hand, has been long since allegedly banned for hate speech. My thoughts on this topic start with skepticism about the validity of Angelica's new worldview. If you're interested in a topic of the origins of Christianity, or rather Judaism, and a Christ figure, I highly recommend watching a video by Esoterica, where the evolution of Christ as first a warrior storm god to the Israelite God is discussed and explained in a way that is much more thorough and well-researched than my little synopsis. I'll leave the link in the description. Although the owner of that channel I am not a theologian and will not claim to be, so anything I say beyond this point is just my understanding of the topic and just my analytical views and what I've drawn for it, for the formulation of just my own understanding of the world. As a disclaimer, I am not disproving the validity of the Christian God as an entity that humans can connect and align themselves with, but rather I am challenging the core values that have evolved over time, that have grown to become, in my opinion, replicative of the misogynistic, patriarchal, and oppressive ideologies that were once criticized by Angelica herself. This isn't really like a feminist thing, it's more like a basic human rights thing. To sum it up, the early history of the Christian God arguably begins with the figure called Baal. Excuse me if I pronounce that wrong. I believe it's also pronounced El. A minor Israelite tribal warrior storm god. Primitive Yahwism believed that this specific god, they believed in a specific god due to a plethora of flash floods and storms that plagued the local region. The cult later migrated from their local area and into different regions on either side of the world. This diffusion happened during a time of broader civilizational collapse amongst groups other than the cult of Baal, allowing for its members to have a stronger basis for recruitment into their community. This mixing and mashing of people groups and ideologies led to a transition from polytheism, by which El, or who I must mention, shares his name with many other gods. So if the characterization of it seems incorrect, it's because we're talking about two different entities, to monotheism, making him Yahweh, or the one and only true God. Baal had enough appeal to him, or had enough for the features to have other gods' image casted onto them, taking him from a minor war figure in a pantheon to suddenly an unfathomable being of creation. This also seems to be why the God of the Bible seems to change attitudes throughout the holy text, as this is most likely an attempt to turn a ruthless, unforgiving war deity into a merciful, wise one. Again, I'm not a theologian, so this is only a severe collapsing of synopsis of information, so I'd highly encourage you to research this topic for yourself, and just look around and see what all information is available on the topic. With some historical basis, let's get into why I question Angelica's newfound ideologies and subsequently that of the Christian Church, or Judaism in general, starting with the patriarchal assumptions imbued within it. First and foremost, I do not solely identify with any major religion or political group. Very simply, I believe that we are all capable of good and evil, and that our experiences and ethics developed as a collective and as individuals is more important than fighting over which deity we should all devote our livelihoods to. To me, there is no objective right or wrong, but there are objective or subjective truths of situations that we as humans must learn to interrogate and incorporate into our understandings of the world. Nobody's religious ideologies should impede the rights of another, and our relationship with a deity should be used as a tool for personal and spiritual development rather than as a scare tactic to act morally and force that belief onto others. Your religion or beliefs should not harm others, without a doubt, including children, which is for some reason something that Angelica tends to heavily emphasize with her new belief system. Although, we care about children too. In looking at the origins of the Bible, in which Angelica draws her worldview from, I think it's very important to look at the historical evolution of it. The common belief is that the Bible is without a doubt God's word, and that it's unimportant who did the physical writing of it because they were imbued by the Holy Spirit. It is said that the Bible was written and compiled by many unknown individuals across cultures and backgrounds, supporting the idea that God evolved from several polytheistic religions to a single monotheistic one. The reality is that we have no way to verify who actually wrote the Bible and if they were qualified to contribute to it. In truth, if someone woke up today and said that God gave them the next chapter of the Bible and it needs to be added, like immediately, even Christians would, look at them and have a little skepticism. It is incredibly difficult to tell when we or someone else is dealing with psychosis rather than spiritual imbuement. For example, many people have claimed and thoroughly believed that they were the reincarnation or the return of Jesus Christ, only to be promptly disproven. We can usually gauge when someone is having a mental health crisis now, but back in the times of Christ, we wouldn't necessarily be able to do so. Knowing that, I find it incredibly easy to believe that personal ideologies, other than what is claimed to be of God's, have made it into the Bible. I especially believe that given the patriarchal ideals, it regurgitates. I especially believe that, that is embedded within it just based off the ideals that it pushes forward. Looking at history, for centuries, women have been considered as lesser creatures amongst men. Not only are they weaker and not as smart, they are also beautiful for the sake of misguiding men and infinitely treacherous, as described in Angelica's novel. That belief persisted so far from its primitive origins to the modern age, where 19th century writings on evolutionary theories still consider women biologically inferior. This worldwide phenomenon of female subjugation arose out of our agrarian societies, where hunting, fighting in wars, and protecting the household was more important than traditionally feminine roles such as foraging and childcare. This is definitely the case with societies that formulated the basis of modern Abrahamic religions. Maybe they were visited by God, maybe they weren't. But I think we can all agree that it's more than a coincidence that men were taught that they were more important than women, and given the opportunity to write, and that the one true God they wrote into existence directly mirrors their image and influence, while justifying their power over women in a way that they could not without catering to a patriarchal deity. Women would have no way to be a part of the creation of that text that literally forms the basic of Abrahamic religions, meaning that even if they were given word from God or noticed that masculine worldviews were being unfairly or just randomly thrown into an otherwise gender-neutral deity, they would have no way to fight back. If women weren't given the opportunity to write, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to write into the Bible, and so of course, people will contribute what they wish. In most cases, that was men who, again, were in agrarian societies. And going off the fact that the Bible originated in an agrarian and masculine society is further brings to light, rather it is the ethical compass by which we should lead our lives and society. We have seen time and time again what happens when we silence one voice in favor of another. We do not have a better society. We instead create a world where whoever has the most power makes decisions that do not represent the objective truth of the situation, that we all deserve to live a fulfilled life. Christianity creates a sense of false fulfillment in a way that no other structure can as quickly proliferate, or that goes for Judaism in general. It utilizes a masculine figurehead to emotionally wrap its followers into his worldview before they can even fully think about the practical applications, especially in tangent with the patriarchy that imbues society. It makes sense that, people fall into it along with religion. If you never felt solace and peace, and you found that in casting your doubts to a higher power like the Christian or Judaist God, you will have created a relationship where you need that fulfillment to survive. Of course, there are numerous ways to find meaning in life without God, but once you feel it and are told that's the only true way, you kind of feel obligated to spread it and thoroughly believe in it. What Angelica is pushing for is not different from what other Catholic individuals desire. They want a world free from evil. Their problem comes in antagonizing any other thought process as evil or of the devil, simply because it goes against the patriarchal views that they have accepted as that of gods. What Angelica needs to realize is that the people who supported her want the same things she does. They want peace, they want community, and they want to protect the earth and children. It is Angelica's method that has led to her aggressively attacking those who once compassionately cared for her. She antagonizes them because she says her fans supported her OnlyFans era. What she doesn't realize is that they are the same people who agreed with her sentiments about it harming young women and understand the risk and benefits associated with sex work. We can learn and grow with her as well. And even then, when Angelica took to OnlyFans, even she mentioned that she did not post anything explicitly sexual, and that we exploring her sensuality in an artistic and beautiful form. It is individuals who see young girls as sexual objects that hypersexualized her and curated an environment for exploitation. The same individuals that she is oriented towards protecting in the name of the Bible. Angelica is not the first or last public figure to suddenly change their ideologies, the ones that fundamentally shape their online presence. It's just disappointing to see that Angelica has adopted the same uneducated understanding of the world, and even an uneducated understanding of Christianity, while sacrificing the trust of her viewers. Because again, this isn't a critique of believing in Christian God. It's because again, you can connect with any deity, but rather a critique of her specific ideologies. In all honesty, I was a long-time fan of Angelica prior to this video. There are many theories about why Angelica is behaving this way, the first being that this is all an elaborate social experiment. Angelica has abruptly shifted ideologies before and called it an experiment, namely her time on OnlyFans. Whether that is the truth or not is heavily debated, and many others doubt that this is just a social experiment, or rather don't really care anymore if it is, considering how many of Angelica's former viewers she has hurt in the process. Other theories speculate that she is going through another bout of mania. As someone who does go through that as well, I would not be surprised if that was the case. Not because she transitioned to religion, but because of how fast and aggressively she took on this new persona, and how different it is from who we once knew her as. Again, Angelica has admitted to going through mania several times before. Allegedly, she acknowledged that during those times she will take down videos and engage in risky behavior. It's something that is happening now, but is apparently not something she's noticed or is aware of. Additionally, we know Angelica to otherwise be a very analytical and smart individual, but now she seems to spout information without sources, and when she does post a source, it is taken grossly out of context. Some sources even say that Angelica herself used to be in a cult and is reverting back to it due to trauma. Although this is unconfirmed, this controversy is also commonly attributed to the death of Angelica's mother, although this too is speculative. We don't have an actual timeline, but when she died, some people say like 2 years ago, some people say recently, but we do know that there has been a death recently, and whether that plays into it, we're not for sure. The main theory I find plausible is one by YouTube user @MarkMoore4069, who says the following. With all due respect, Angelica, I honestly don't buy this. I don't necessarily doubt that you have some level of genuine belief in your newfound faith, as you are an artistic person and did grow up JW. Being an artist requires belief in the unknown, faith to some extent, and so an artist who grew up in a religious household may be able to understand religion from a different perspective. But I think your newfound conservatism masked in the protect the children spiel is just a defense mechanism for shame. Although we love you for it, you were a bit manic before all this. People with manic inclinations have issues with shame and self-consciousness. Most artistic or introverted people can probably agree somewhat. And I think you doing OnlyFans triggered your self-consciousness and shame in a way that you just weren't ready for. The thought of those images being online for the rest of your life, combined with them being a testament to the ways in which capitalism can drive all of us to do things we don't want to do, was probably so shameful for you that you just couldn't take it. And I think when you finally realized this, you needed some sort of psychological escape. But converting to religion alone was just not enough. Too many people have done it. In fact, converting back to religion after doing OnlyFans would have probably been even more embarrassing. Your old fans would have judged you for changing your beliefs, and the people who were judging you before wouldn't have brought it. And so, in order to complete the transition in a way that protected you and alleviated the shame, you needed a power play. Currently, conservatism has no claim to power in the culture wars except this. The issue of protected children is the only thing conservatives can stand on to some extent because the risk of not agreeing is too high. They have spent so much time being racist, sexist, xenophobic, and homophobic that the only response they could come up with was, "Oh yeah? Well, you liberals are pedophiles." It's a pathetic and desperate attempt to regain power due to the embarrassment they suffer for their bigoted beliefs. I have so much love for you as a creator, and even though I don't really know you as a person, but you are so much more selfish than I thought. This worldview change is just pure selfishness. For you to be so debilitated by your shame that you will be willing to not only do something like this, but to do so in light of believing pretty much the exact opposite for years. It's very shameful. You will 100% look back on this moment with sadness and regret. But the worst part is, because you don't know how to deal with your shame, you will be really fucked. I think it is only then you will be able to face your feelings. Good luck until then. In the end, I and many of Angelica's past supporters just want her to know that it's okay to explore other worldviews. We're not holding you to be liberal, and this isn't like us versus you. But the solution to your pain is not to pick a side and defend it, as she claimed we should in her Instagram stories. Rather, two truths can exist at the same time. You can take problem with exploitation while still agreeing that women should have their own agency, or that LGBT+ individuals deserve legal rights, or even that mental illness does exist. This is not us versus you, it's all Angelica versus her own trauma. It only hurts that we have to bear witness to her fight to cope with the sorrows of existence in the public light. What are your thoughts? Did I miss anything or get any information wrong? Let me know in the comments below. And Angelica, if you're watching, just know that we truly did love you as a creator and a person.